Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a Monday, the 7th day of April, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. The National Security Council suspects China's arrest of 3 Filipinos for alleged espionage might be retaliatory. NSC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya claims the arrests seem forced. The Commission on Elections will issue a show-cause order against Misamis Oriental candidate Peter Unabia. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia condemns sexist remarks, stressing gender discrimination has no place in political campaigns. The MMDA bans recording and posting videos of its operations. The move follows a cyber libel complaint filed by a Quezon City police officer against MMDA Strike Force head Gabriel Go. And the Signal HD Spikers swept crisscross in the Spikers Turf Open Conference Finals to claim their 9th championship. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, the arrest in China of 3 Filipinos for alleged spying may be a form of retaliation. That's according to the National Security Council. Recall that several Chinese nationals in the Philippines were previously arrested for alleged espionage. But according to NSC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, Beijing's arrest of 3 Filipinos appear coerced. Malaya noted that the arrested Filipinos are former recipients of the Hainan Government Scholarship Program. The program provided scholarships to 50 residents of Palawan at the Hainan National University. Malaya added that the alleged confessions by the arrested Filipinos raises more questions than answers. The NSC urged China to respect the rights of Filipinos and afford them every opportunity to clear their names. The Armed Forces has reorganized Vice President Sara Duterte's security detail. The AFP said the VP Security and Protection Group has been reorganized into the AFP Security and Protection Group. According to the military, this was undertaken to unify security and protection operations. It added that this only ensures the protection of the Vice President within a more integrated and optimized framework. The AFP asked the public not to spread false information regarding the matter. Duterte supporters continue gathering outside the ICC detention center in The Hague, Netherlands. ICC spokesperson Dr. Fadi El Abdallah said these demonstrations will not impact Duterte's case. Juan Gualvez with the story.
Hindi tayo! Hindi tayo!
Supporters of former President Rodrigo Duterte are at it again outside the ICC detention center in The Hague, Netherlands. There are speeches, singing, and picnics. There are even games and free ice cream. Just like before, they've applied for a permit to hold a huge demonstration in the area, which they now plan to do weekly.
Hindi talaga namin gustong mabakante itong lugar na dito sa may harap ng ICC. Until he is free, we will be here. We will keep on organizing. We will keep on protesting the arrest of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
No relatives of the former president went to this gathering. But it's not just Filipinos participating. Supporters from different places in Europe and America are also joining the protest. As they have made the place in front of the ICC detention center their waiting area, supporters have already called it Duterte Park. Vice President Sara Duterte actually mentioned it in jest during her last visit.
Usually, napapangalan ng mga parks at mga kalsada pag simba ko lang, patay na ang tao. But I'm happy that even if President Duterte is still alive and well, he already has a park. Pero sigurado ako, knowing my father, he would want na yung Duterte Park na yan ay nasa loob ng Pilipinas at hindi sa loob ng the Netherlands.
But the spokesperson of the International Criminal Court said the demonstrations won't have any effect on the case against Duterte.
We fully respect the rights of the people to show their own feelings, to show their support or not to certain individuals, but we need to understand that that has nothing to do with the judicial. The ICC judges can only take into account what is in the files before them, what is the evidence that is presented, and what is the applicable law. That's what leads a decision.
He also assures that the former president's health is being taken care of. However, They can't accept medicines for him from the Philippines.
The ICC takes all the necessary measures to ensure the physical and psychological well-being of all the detainees. We ensure all the medical facilities that are necessary for the protection of the health of all the detainees.
For more updates, let's speak with Mon Guaves, who is with us live from The Hague in Netherlands. So good morning to you, Mon. Mukhang sinagot na ni ICC spokesperson yung naging tanong natin nung Friday regarding the health of the former president. Tell us all about that conversation.
Hi, Gretchen. It's a freezing 5 degrees Celsius morning here in The Hague, Netherlands. Tama ka. Sinagot na nga rin ni Vice President Sara Duterte yung kumakalat na text message last week about the health condition of her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte, with regard to the medicines na hindi pinapasok from the Philippines dito nga sa ICC Detention Center. Hindi rin kasi sila naniniwala dito na for every sickness or yung sakit, gamot agad ang ibinibigay ng mga Dutch medical professionals. So they assured the family rather, na well taken care of naman daw ang health ni former president dito sa The Hague. There's also one instance na they are requesting for a wheelchair pero hindi pinayagan ng mga ICC personnel or ICC detention cell personnel dahil gusto nila na tumayo at ma-exercise daw yung muscles ng former president. So yun yung mga bagay na inaayos at the same time talagang sinisiguro naman daw ng ICC detention center at pinanghahawakan na lamang ng family or ng Duterte camp right now.
Did the spokesperson talk to you a little bit more about the details of the medical care they're giving the former president? And also, do they know about this message that is making its rounds?
Yeah, actually they kumbaga tinanggi nila, pinabulaanan in Tagalog, no? Pinabulaanan nila yung statements na kumbaga nagkakaroon ng problem with regard to taking care of sa health condition ni former President Duterte. So they assured the public na yun nga, maayos naman daw ang pag-aalaga nila dito, and even the Vice President Sara Duterte confirms it last week, no, tungkol nga dyan sa bagay na yan. Bagamat hindi nga pinapayagang ipasok yung mga medicines, so meron silang ibang pamamaraan. They didn't mention it kung paano yung pamamaraan na yan, pero ang sinasabi kasi dito nga, ang mga Dutch daw, hindi kasi sila sanay sa culture na kapag may sakit, inom kagad ng gamot, no, kapag merong naramdaman ito, inom kagad ng gamot. So they have a different way of taking care of daw sa mga patients para lamang mas lumakas at mas gumaling pa. So yung in terms of physical and mental capacity of a patient, ito daw ay sinisiguro ng mga medical professionals handling inside the ICC Detention Center, Gretchen.
Naalala ko tuloy yung kapatid ko, no? Kasi pag hinihingan ko ng gamot kapag may sore throat ako, tubig lamang ang nire-reseta. So medyo para nakapagtataka bakit ganun. Pero sa doktor yan, kanya-kanyang filosofiya yan dun sa doktora. Okay, the Vice President is now back in the Philippines. Actually, she arrived yesterday night, mga 10 p.m. Philippine time. But before she went back home, what did she tell the media there?
Okay, there are some points na minention ni VP Sara before leaving The Hague, papunta nga dyan sa pabalik ng Pilipinas. Una, she mentioned na tapos na ngayon task niya submitting the final documents for the ICC Detention Center at para nga ito sa legal team ng kanyang ama. No? So we are expecting today that Attorney Nicholas Kaufman will give us an update with regard to the details of the final lawyers completing the list of the defense team of the former president. And the second thing is, she mentioned that they are not expecting any justice from the Senate inquiry being held in the Philippines dahil nga daw sa kanyang paniniwala. No? Although ang sinasabi niya dito, sana raw hindi na daw ito mangyari pa sa kahit sinumang Filipino in the future. At binanggit din niya, and she assured the public that they are using their own money out of their own pocket sa mga ginagamit nila at ginagastos nila sa pagpunta at pagbabantay dito sa The Hague together with their father. Kasi nga, sinasabi din nila na wala daw sila tatanggapin na any donation. Kung sakasakali, magbebenta na lang daw sila ng gamit, basta meron daw sila ma-suffice no, or ma-finance dito sa mga kakailanganan nilang gastusin. Kasi nagkaroon ng mga parang questions kung ano ba yung ginagamit nilang pera while they are traveling here sa Europe, at sinasabi nila meron naman daw silang mga iba't ibang mga sources of income aside sa kanilang mga sahod. Meron na daw silang mga may other businesses, especially Hamlet, meron siya mga businesses daw na well-established naman sa ngayon. Gretchen.
Raymond, the Vice President also mentioned they already have a system in place for the family in terms of visiting the former president. Curious ako, what did she give more details about that system and sino yung pumalit sa kanya dyan sa The Hague?
Oo, she mentioned the salitan system, no? Ayun yung parang binabanggit niya sa atin na silang magkakapatid, mag-overlap actually yung kanilang pag-stay dito sa The Hague. So nag-overlap na yung pag-stay ni VP Sara nung dumating na si Veronica Kitty Duterte. And this week, we are expecting that Congressman Paolo Duterte will be coming para mag-overlap din sa pagbisita naman ni Kitty. Kasi this week, is Kitty's birthday on April 10. So we just don't know if before April 10, Congressman Paolo will arrive here in The Hague, and then followed by Mayor Duterte in the coming weeks. So we have no words yet kung anong specific schedule that Congressman Paolo will arrive here in The Hague. Pero definitely, right now, nandito pa rin ngayon ang mag-ina na sina Hanilet Avancenia together with her daughter Kitty.
All right, we'll be waiting for updates from you throughout the rest of the day, especially on the legal team that seems to have been finalized already by the Vice President. Mamaya yan, pero patutulugin ka muna namin. Maraming salamat, Mon, for joining us in the middle of the cold, live from The Hague in Netherlands. And now to get more insights about these developments, we have on our show this morning, ICC Assistant to Counsel Attorney Cristina Conti. A good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
May attorney, kayo po ba ay nasa Pilipinas na o nasa Hague pa?
Naku, nakauwi na ako. Natapos ko na yung trabaho ko rin.
Thank you.
Gusto ko lang malaman, no, kasi kung ano oras dyan at baka pinupuyat ka rin namin. Pero mukhang good morning na ang
Umaga.
bati ko sa'yo. Oo, magandang umaga. Alright, I wanna lead off from the report of Mon Gualvez. He talked about questions on the money that is being used by the Duterte family in visiting the former president. I just wanted to know, because there were concerns about their properties being searched. What is the jurisdiction of the ICC when it comes to that? When it comes to actual being able to enforce a search warrant or get a search warrant, what process would they have to go through? And meron ba silang, kumbaga, galamay pagdating sa mga ganong bagay?
Well, I am not particularly sure if the ICC can issue a search warrant because that would be a local process. In any case, what I know is that the ICC will ask for the identification of properties of an accused. So sa ngayon, sa totoo lang, hindi pa naman siya accused, wala pa yung charges. We have to wait for September. Pero by that time, and actually as early as now, there should be identification of the properties so that in the end, when it comes to reparations, there would be sufficient property or money to give out to the victims. Importante yung dulo kasi baka mamaya na-dispal ko na o nawala na yung properties niya na nung simula pa naman meron pala siya with the view na ang tunguhin sa dulo walang makuha yung mga biktima. Kaya yung identification of the properties and eventual freezing of the properties, mukhang malaki ang tulong na hihingi nila sa local government. And that would be, in this case, the Philippine government. The request we expect to have been given already. Simula nung makilala siya, ma-identify siya bilang subject, sabi namin dapat may ganun ng nauna na request na rin na i-identify sa minimum ang kanyang mga ari-arian.
Okay, so if he is not an accused now, what is he called?
He's called
At
the
this point.
suspect.
Okay.
Medyo iba sa atin, kasi ang
Oo.
alam natin, kapag may warrant of arrest, meron ng information o meron ng kaso sa korte. Sa ICC, yung information or yung actual na charges, malalaman natin after pa ng confirmation of charges hearing. Kasi precisely, yun yung hinihingi natin sa pre-trial chamber. Can you confirm the charges? So if they find that there is reasonable basis to proceed with trial, sapat ang ebidensya para magtuloy pa sa trial, di saka mabubuksan at magiging kumbaga buong-buo na kaso. So sa ngayon, suspect, pero syempre mataas na yung standard na naabot na there is reasonable basis to believe that he is most responsible for crimes against humanity.
Okay. So, if we are not a member of the ICC currently, what kind of participation can we expect from the Philippine government? Do you think at this point that yung arrest ay kumbaga nahanapan ng dahilan dahil sa Interpol, no, yung membership natin doon. But when it comes to the actual participation of the local government, pagdating sa pag-enforce ng mga warrant na yan, reading through everything that's been happening with the Senate hearing, what kind of participation can you expect from the Philippine government?
Well, ako, gusto ko full participation in all respects because of our continuing obligations under the Rome Statute. Nasimulan tong investigasyon na to, nasimulan tong buong proceeding na to, nung member pa tayo ng ICC. At sabi, kahit umalis tayo sa Article 127, may continuing obligations. Sabi na ng Supreme Court natin, sa Pangilinan versus Cayetano, there would be residual obligations. Ngayon, kung sabi, hindi, wala yung Rome Statute, then generally, under diplomatic obligations, I would say that we are required to cooperate with the court to ensure that the administration of justice is made swiftly and fully. Kasi parang pointless din kung nadala sa ICC tapos wala namang mangyayari thereafter. Ultimo, ang pinaka-importante dito, meron bang trial na maganap? Kung hindi natin kinaya dito sa Pilipinas, and I point this out, until today, there are no investigations or an investigation or prosecution against the president. Kaya yung mga parang iniisip na, hindi ba sapat na nasilip na siya na investigahan, baka ang sinasabi ko ay Quadcom, which is a legislative investigation. Yung inutos nila na DOJ investigation or prosecution, wala pa rin. Kaya from the point of view of the ICC, they are very well placed to continue with its investigation and prosecution because there is none in the Philippines.
Well, the reason why I'm asking for the reach or extent of the authority of the ICC in the Philippines is because I guess the challenge of being able to link the EJK victims with the former president. What kind of paper trail would this investigation need? Sapat na ba yung mga accounts ng mga witnesses? I mean, to be able to have a very solid case trying for crimes against humanity, citing also the other suspects that have been convicted by the court. Kailangan ba ng paper trail? Kailangan ba buksan yung mga bank account? Kailangan ba meron yung actual na written document? Or okay na yung may sabihin natin there's law enforcement na bumaliktad na will serve as prime witness katulad na lamang ni ano pangalan nito yung mga nag-testify na kasama si Matobato. Yon, si Las Cañas at saka si Matobato. Sapat na ba yung gano'n o kailangan meron pang dokumento?
Mix ito sa ICC kasi they're both civil law and they follow common law tradition. So kumbaga, kung anong ginagawa natin sa Pilipinas at sa ibang bansa, pinagsama-sama. Sa Pilipinas, uso sa atin ang testimonial evidence. So may star witness, 'di ba, na magsasabi lang diyan makakapanalo ka ng kaso. Sa ICC, syempre yung ibang tradition naman, yung ibang jurisdictions ay mas bumabatay sa object evidence. Kaya it will be a mix of both testimonial, documentary, and object evidence. Sa isang banda, nakita ko dun sa mga kaso, meron silang premium na ibinibigay sa forensic evidence, lalo na sa patayan. Kaya yung testimonya o kaya pag-aaral ng isang expert patungkol dito, ewan ko kung kunyari, for example, sa ibang kaso, mass graves, na nagmamatch doon sa sinasabi ng isang witness. So, parang it's a mix and a combination of everything. May nagsabi, tapos biglang meron talagang mass graves confirmed, and according to forensic evidence, merong mga nalibing doon, edi mas tumitibay yung kaso. In the case of the Philippines, I would most likely think that one, we already have testimonial evidence from insider witnesses. Ito yung mga, sabi mo nga, mga bumaliktad. More likely, meron pang iba na mga pulis na magkukwento kung paano ba talaga nangyari yung bigayan, yung reward system, tapos yung quota sa panahon ni Duterte. Most likely, meron din tayong documentary evidence patungkol dun sa paper trail, di ba? Yung pera, paano ba yan pumasok? And most obviously, we have Operation Double Barrel, the document that Bato de la Rosa signed July 1, 2016. It commands all the police officers to implement Oplan Tokhang and upper barrel, lower barrel, high value targets, yan, HVT. At dun nakbanggit yung very contested term na neutralized. And there will also be, I think, object evidence or forensic evidence in this case para patunayan kung yung paano pinatay yung biktima, kahit na hindi nakita or hindi na-establish yan at the time of the death, forensic evidence can show how this person was killed.
Well, there is that argument being brought up online by, I don't know, but the Duterte supporters that hindi naman si former president ang may kasalanan kapag may namatay. Kumbaga, hinabol niya itong mga pero nanlaban or may maling nangyari sa operasyon, hindi naman niya kasalanan, pero inako na lang niya. What do you say to that argument?
Ay, parang hindi ko panipaniwala sa dami ng video niya mismo na nagsasabing kill, kill, kill. Kung naabutan nyo, walang baril, bigyan nyo at hayaan yung manlaban. Kaya hindi ko alam kung saang mundo sila nandun, pero we can bring up all the receipts. Kumbaga, resibo ko bang ang gusto nyo? Eto. That kind of documentation will work against Duterte because even if you withdraw your statements or clarify as what they are doing, that this was just probably a joke o kaya hyperbole. Diyan ko sa kanya narinig yun, hyperbole, alam niyo naman si Presidente. It will work against him because he made the, kumbaga, violent, incendiary statements first before clarifying. At ang nakita ko ng mga clarification, nung dulo na, nung kumakagat na yung ICC investigation. Pero nung 2016, 2017, 2018, kung nasa Pilipinas ka, wala kang ibang naririnig, kundi kill, kill, kill. At sabi pa nga, sa mga punerarya, mag-business kayo niyan kasi yayaman kayo. Yung mga isda sa sa Manila Bay, tataba yan at pupula ang dagat. Kaya, ang hirap i-deny. Sana, ito din yung isang importanteng bagay na ginawa nila sa Holocaust at posibleng pag-isipan natin. Denial loss. Okay? So, multifaceted dapat yung pagtugon dito sa nangyari. Hindi ito pwedeng, okay, nandun na si Duterte, tapos na. Marami pang ibang may kasalanan. At sa palagay ko, dito sa disinformation, which is on another front, re-victimization of the victims. Kasi, di ba, ipasok ko na to, yung tanim EJK, tanim biktima, hindi daw totoong biktima. Nako, nung Holocaust, pag-address nila dito ay sa pamamagitan ng batas. So, legislative action, and they implemented denial laws. Bawal i-deny na nangyari ang Holocaust, bawal i-deny na namatay ang mga Hudyo doon sa gas chambers, at essentially bawal i-deny na pinatay sila ng Germans. Kaya may pwede nang pagsimulan kasi talagang magugulo ka, malilito ka kung pupunta ka ulit sa, may namatay ba talaga? Siya ba talaga ang nag-utos?
Attorney,
So,
you clarified also something on your social media account regarding the witnesses. Sabi mo, paglilinaw tungkol sa kanilang partisipasyon, hindi gobyerno ng Pilipinas ang gagasto sa witness, kundi ICC mula sa kanilang pondo. Is that, I mean, all of the trips will be sponsored by the ICC. And the question is, pwede pa bang magdagdag ng mga witnesses at this point? 181 pieces of evidence have been submitted by the prosecution, but there are calls to open an investigation, a parallel investigation here, citing the cases that are not with the ICC. Pwede pa bang mangalap, kumbaga, ng ebidensya para dalhin dun sa korte?
yes, until today, the witness appeals website or microsite of the ICC is still up. At special yun para sa Pilipinas. Kung meron pang gustong mag-come forward with evidence, pwede pa. At diretso yan sa Office of the Prosecutor. Kung merong makakalap na bagong impormasyon dito sa Pilipinas, malaya naman na makapagpasa doon. Pero ang sabi nga namin, yung prosecutor medyo trial ready na eh. Kumaga kaya na nila. Pero of course, it doesn't hurt. Lalo na sa nasilip natin sa warrant of arrest, parang kulang yung ebidensya or hindi na-convince yung mga judges dun sa usapin ng rape at saka torture. Yung torture, dito namin nakikita na mas marami pang biktima. May 350,000 na aminado yung gobyerno kinulong dahil sa war on drugs. Marami dyan ang na-torture sa loob ng kulungan. Kaya pwedeng tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung palitan ng information, palitan ng ebidensya. Aabot yan hanggang August. Ang deadline nila 1 month before ng confirmation of charges, dapat nakapagpalitan ng ebidensya. And this kind of evidence, this exchange, is not necessarily, kumbaga, everything. In fact, the initial information, yung sa pieces of evidence, yung 181, includes 1, what is the language that is used in the evidence or in the documents that you will submit. 2, how many documents do you intend to present? 3, how many witnesses do you intend to present?
So,
ganung class,
181 line
preliminary.
items. O, yun ba yun?
Yes, it doesn't
Oo.
really mean parang 181 names of victims or
Okay.
181 cases. Hindi ganun eh.
Okay. Attorney, I
Kaya
want to
it could
talk
be
about I don't have a lot of time, no, but I want to talk about 2 legal aspects. Number 1 is the liberty of abode, cited by Attorney Alex Medina in the Senate hearing, Section 6 of the Philippine Bill of Rights, saying that bago matransfer sa ibang lugar ang isang Filipino resident or citizen, kailangan muna dumaan sa lawful order of the court. I know this is moot and academic when it comes to the former president, but how do you think does this affect the future arrest warrants from being enforced?
Well, they will always question that. Pero yung liberty of abode, it is, I think, configured within the sense of pwede ka bang forcibly ilipat yung bahay. And it talks about a lawful warrant, a lawful order of the court, and a warrant of arrest is a lawful order. And so yung parang quote-unquote forcible na paglipat ng residence mo would be covered by that lawful order of the court. Ang iniisip kasi niyan yung mga tipong ididestiero o yung parang ipepersona non grata, bawal kang bumalik sa isang lugar. Mas ganun pa at saka yung freedom of travel. Dito, meron ng malinaw na basehan kung bakit hindi makakalaya agad si Duterte. I would say that we should rely on yung presumption of innocence. Baka mas magandang gamitin nila yon. Kasi, kumbaga, meron ng kaso si Duterte. And that presumption of innocence would allow an accused or a suspect in this case to really avail of interim release. Sabi nila ng ICC na kinikilala nila na may presumption of innocence at sa totoo, pwede ka talagang kumbaga, karapatan mo nga na mag-avail ng interim release. Kaya lang, at nagkaroon na ng exceptions. In our case, tingin namin, nag-a-apply yung exceptions or exemptions, kaya dapat hindi makalaya kaagad si Duterte. And among those exceptions ay pwedeng makatakot ng biktima, pwedeng magkaroon ng tampering with evidence.
So kung si Senator Bato ay pumunta dyan, maaari ba siyang mahuli na? I mean, kasi nagsabi siya na baka bibisita siya dyan eh. I mean, what do you think could happen at this point?
Yes, if the Dutch police, so pupunta siya doon, dadaan siyang immigration, if the Dutch police implement the warrant of arrest, then he could be taken or surrendered to the court. And that has been most important. Kailangan police ang kumuha. Ang Dutch police, member din ng Interpol. So, nadaanan din yan ng whether it's a red notice or a diffusion notice, it's still a notification that this person has a warrant of arrest. Kaya, actually, sa layover, pwede din siyang mahuli. No? Depende yan if the country is a member of the ICC. Member ang Netherlands kasi sinisilip namin to yung kapag nahatulan. So kapag nahatulan, magsiserve ka sa penitentiary nung member state. Sayang nga kung member pa tayo, pwede nating ma-offer yung bilibid. Ang Netherlands, nag-host ngayon ng isa o dalawa na convicted ng ICC sa penitentiary nila, parang Bucor, hindi BJMP.
Okay, bilang panghuli na lang po kasi wala na akong oras with you, no? Yung jurisdiction na the Duterte camp plans to bring up a jurisdiction, to contend the jurisdiction, not when it comes to our membership, but when it comes to the 2-year period that it took for the request for authorization of the court to open. What would you say to that? This was brought up by former Chief Justice Artemio Panganiban on the Philippine Daily Inquirer na kailangan 1 year makapag-open ka ng kaso.
There is no such requirement in the Rome Statute. So I think it is an interpretation and we differ entirely. On our part, sabi namin, if there is any matter under the consideration of the court, and that was a preliminary examination, then we have to continue with cooperation. So, any matter also includes preliminary examination. Baka nalito lang sa interpretation yung iba pong mga legal experts. And we hope that there could be minsan kasi parang pag sinilip mo lang, may tingin ka na, pero sana may mas malalim na pag-aaral pa.
Alright, thank you so much for your insights and welcome back to the Philippines. I hope you have your body clock correct already. Thank you so much for joining us on Morning Matters. ICC Assistant to Counsel Attorney Cristina Conti.
Thank you, Gretchen.
Don't go away. We'll be back with more stories right after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has imposed a ban on recording and posting videos of its operations. MMDA Chairman Romando Artes said only the Public Affairs Staff Public Information Office is authorized to share official content on social media platforms. This decision follows a meeting between MMDA and representatives from Metro Manila's 17 local government units as part of preparations for the Holy Week rush. The ban also comes after MMDA Special Operations Group Strike Force head Gabriel Go faced a cyber libel complaint from Police Captain Eric Felipe of the Quezon City Police District. Felipe filed the complaint after Go allegedly berated him in a viral video over a parking violation. Misamis Oriental gubernatorial candidate Peter Unabia has drawn widespread criticism after making a sexist joke. In a campaign rally, Unabia claimed that the nursing scholarship program was only for beautiful women and not open to men or unattractive females. A video of Unabia's remarks has gone viral on social media. In his
nursing, katawan sa Villanueva, para rin sa mga babae. Dili pwede ang lalaki. At katupag yung mga babae nga gwapa.
In his defense, Unabia said he was taken out of context and the joke was blown out of proportion. Still, he apologized, noting that he did not intend to cause offense or undermine any culture. In response, the Commission on Elections will issue a show-cause order against Unabia. COMELEC Chairman George Garcia emphasized that sexist remarks and gender discrimination have no place in a civilized society, especially in political campaigns. The search operations continue for 4 missing Filipinos and other victims following a major earthquake in Myanmar. Here's the report.
The death toll from Myanmar's 7.9 magnitude earthquake rose to 3,564, with more than 5,000 people injured and 210 still missing. Other nations have deployed rescue teams to assist in search operations. But the United Nations said Myanmar's military is limiting critically needed humanitarian aid.
This is something that we've been extremely concerned about for a very long time, because this is part of a strategy that is used by the military to prevent aid getting to populations that it views as not supporting its seizure of power back in 2021. And so there has been a very active effort, not just to restrict where humanitarians can go, but particularly to prevent them from delivering aid in conflict-affected areas.
Myanmar's ruling junta has yet to respond to issue a statement on the matter. On Friday, their leader attended a regional summit in Bangkok, where attendees stood to observe a minute of silence in tribute to the victims. Meanwhile, 4 Filipinos are still missing in the capital city of Mandalay. All of them are teachers who were believed to be inside a building that collapsed during the tremor. The Foreign Affairs Department said it is unsafe for their relatives to fly to Myanmar. They are assured that authorities are on top of the situation.
It won't be possible to bring them to Mandalay. We might be able to bring them to Yangon, where they'll monitor what the embassy is doing.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back with more after a short break. I'm Gretchen Ho, and this is Morning Matters. The Armed Forces of the Philippines plans to enhance its defense capabilities by acquiring more missile systems, warships, and fighter jets. AFP Chief General Romeo Browner Jr. highlighted that these acquisitions will strengthen the country's deterrent force as part of its ongoing modernization efforts. Although details on specific quantities and timelines have not been disclosed, Browner stressed the importance of integrating air and missile defense to strengthen the nation's security. The United States has recently announced a potential sale of 20 F-16 fighter jets to the Philippines, valued at $5.58 billion. The Philippine Coast Guard successfully intercepted a Chinese vessel conducting illegal patrols near Palawig, Zambales. The radio challenge by the PCG personnel aboard the PRP Cabra took place on Saturday, April 5. The Chinese vessel was nearly double the size of the PCG ship. The PCG assured that it would continue to monitor the Philippines Exclusive Economic Zone, or EEZ, and maintain professional conduct in line with government directives. To help us make sense of these developments, former Defense Secretary and senatorial candidate Norberto Gonzales is joining us live here in the studio. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us on a Monday.
Yes. Hi.
Okay, let's pick off from that piece of news. The AFP modernizing its weapon system with the potential acquisition of 20 F-16 fighter jets. Of course, we do know pagdating sa mga ganyan, bilyones po ang involved. Do you agree that this is the right way to go?
Well, it's something that a nation in a situation like us should do. No? But given your question of whether we can afford it or not is another matter. No?
But at one point, you did say that, correct me if I'm wrong, that a Chinese invasion is not unthinkable.
Oh, yes.
Ba't niyo po nasabi yun?
Well, you know, there are two kinds of news that we get. The ones in the public and the ones that are within the grapevine of intelligence or national security practitioners. We know that China is planning something not only to Taiwan, but the Philippines as well because of our geographic location. It will be easier for China to invade Taiwan, for example, if the Philippines is controlled by them.
What is in it for China? Why do you think they would want to invade us? Reportedly, they have denied this, of course. Siyempre, di nila aaminin yun. Pero if you think about it, they already have a huge territory in China. Ano yung interest kaya nila in the Philippines?
Well, it's not about territory. You're right. You know, they're huge, and they really don't need any square inch of land from outside what is China today. But Taiwan, for example, is an emotional matter as far as China is concerned. Because, you know, they had a revolution decades and decades ago. And for some reason, yung kanilang kalaban sa, well, their opponent in the revolution run to Taiwan. And ever since, they have not defeated Taiwan. They were not able to finish the revolution. As far as the people of China is concerned, that is a matter of national pride. Now the Philippines. You know, towards the middle of the term of Pinoy Aquino, the propaganda machine of China has declared the Philippines as its #1 enemy, as early as that. And why is this so? We have one of our ambassadors to China before. Well, sorry, he passed away. But he was an activist that had to stay in China for decades. Anyway, what he said is this: the people of China, when their nation is threatened by an external war, they tend to forget their complaints about their government and disregarding that and going closer to China. And
they unite.
They unite. This is the culture of the Chinese people. So they need an external enemy. So when Xi Jinping assumed power, at the beginning he was not so sure whether he has fully consolidated his power in China as Communist Party chairman. So he needed an enemy, and we are very convenient as an enemy. We're near. We are reputed to be the main supporter of America.
And the way they're framing this is that we are a puppet of the United States.
Precisely.
Do you agree with the closer ties of this administration with the U.S.? I mean, we have seen two defense secretaries come over to our shores. Yung fighter jets, parang bibilin din natin sa kanila. I mean, at this point, what other choices do we have?
Well, you see, we, of course, in terms of national issues, I mean, our nationalism is kind of difficult to be considered as a puppet of another imperial power. But you see, given this situation today, we may be needing America more. In fact, we're a bit apprehensive because there's a new president in the United States, and you don't know the stability of what he promises in the world. So right here now, I think, as you said, two defense secretaries have visited the Philippines, because I think it's to the interest of the United States to make sure that Philippines agree to the American plan of how they will repulse a possibility of an invasion from
Well, of
China.
course, there is also the Taiwan question, the possibility of us getting dragged into that conflict with the EDCA bases also increasing over the past years with the Marcos administration allowing that. Doon po ba sa aspetong yun, I mean, do you agree that it should have been allowed by the administration and also used as a leverage to be able to secure the Mutual Defense Treaty?
You know, any leverage initiated by us will not matter. Because as far as China is concerned, when they look at the Philippines, they can do what they really want, depending on the interest that they are projecting at the present time. No? Philippines doesn't matter. That is why if we are thinking in terms of how do we prevent China from attacking us, I think it is wiser that we join the rest of the world in their strategy of how to stop China from being more aggressive.
And how is that exactly?
Well, the main policy that they have adopted is the policy of deterrence. They are trying to tell China, you better not, because you will be destroyed in the process.
Kumbaga magpalakas tayo ng
Well, sana.
armas? Is it through modernization?
Sana. Well, you see, because we are poor, we cannot afford a full-blown modernization.
That's correct. If we will not get to that level, then how do we create that deterring force?
Well, you see, it so happens that our interest corresponds with the interest of the nations approaching us today. For example, it's not just the United States visiting the Philippines, you know. You have the aircraft carrier, for example, of France visiting us and even doing a little bit of joint exercises. So things like this. While Japan and South Korea are very interested in seeing the Philippines free. No, and that you have Australia, New Zealand, and lately the NATO countries are also coming to the Philippines because they're afraid of one thing. If something happens in our part of the world while the war in Ukraine is happening and it might expand to its nearby countries of NATO, and then suddenly we erupt here, it becomes a world war. When it becomes a world war, and
Everything is affected.
and if we are
Economies are
dealing with leaders that are blinded by their imperial ambitions, then the humanity is not certain whether these individuals will use nuclear weapons. These are real fears being raised by countries mostly in NATO. That's why, to me, it's really should be taken seriously.
Do you agree with the presence of the Typhoon missile here in the Philippines?
It's a token. It's a token. You know, how many missiles have we been? How many missiles have been placed in the Philippine territory, and we are not certain who will push the button.
So you do agree with it?
Of course.
Isn't it
and
provocative?
More.
Isn't
and
it
more.
provocative?
It's not provocative.
Okay.
As I have been telling you, any action of the Philippines does not matter to China. What matters is the official policy of the Communist Party of China. They have their own objectives. And sorry for us, because to China, domestic objective is very important. So we are part of their domestic objective. That is why I do not see the escalation of the things that are happening in the West Philippines.
China's already made the pronouncement several times that they will take control of Taiwan. Are we nearing that day? The AFP chief mentioned the other day we should prepare for that.
Well,
what are you hearing?
We should listen to the armed forces. You know, the AFP chief, we are politicking his position. We are making his position. But that guy is a professional. I know him. He will not speak those kind of words.
Pag walang basihan.
Pag walang basihan. And the hint to this, we can help, is start observing the level of military exercises that China is holding vis-a-vis Taiwan. You should notice the quiet escalation, more boats, more ships, and then they're attempting what to many strategies in defense are saying that they really have to, be able to put defenses all over the island, not only one pace of, it's easy for China to invade Taiwan if they're only.
What should we prepare for?
Well, the problem is that those helping us are the ones preparing for the possibility of a conflict with China. The Philippines are merely being invited to be part of it. That is why what we are following up till today is the strategy of the United States, not Philippine strategy. We do not have a real defense strategy that is specific to the threats that we are facing today. We need one. And we also need to contribute. We cannot say that we are so poor, we're totally dependent on what the U.S. will do, what Japan will give us, what South Korea will also give us, and all other neighbors. We're talking of everything that comes from abroad, except our own. We do not have a plan. We are not preparing our people.
Of course, we are having this conversation because you are running for senator in the 2025 midterm elections. You ran for president in
Yes,
2022.
yes.
Why the Senate this time? And pag sinabi niyo pong sariling agenda sa security, what does that look like to a former national security advisor such as
Well, you see, this is not a subject that I want to talk about when it comes to Philippine politics. I ran for president, I ran for the Senate, I will keep running for as long as I can for one simple reason. Our country has never experienced the kind of good politics that is being exercised by more mature democracies in the world. If we exercise good politics, maybe we'll become progressive. Because the kind of politics and politicians that we have today, I think, is the biggest stumbling block why we are not progressing as a nation.
what does good politics look like to you?
Well, it's a politics that think of policies of the common good, that everything you do as a major policy that affects the people must think of the common good, for example. This is practiced by most mature democracies in the world. In our country, our kind of politics, have you heard of anybody really thinking of the common good among our politicians?
Well, nagiging patronage politics po eh.
Hindi lang patronage.
Oo, pero hindi
Magnanakaw pa. Magnanakaw pa. We have
Tama
to
po.
emphasize this point. You see, this is, and then you're asking, oh, what kind of politics are you thinking about? Of course, the reverse of what we are seeing in the Philippines. Look at the politics that we have.
But the question is, as a senator, if you win, what would you do or what can you do to change that?
Well, you see, not much. Not much. I think because the changes that we need are fundamental. For example, we need to change the charter. How easy will that be or how hard will that be when I'm senator? I don't know yet. But there are certain fundamental questions that we need to meet today. And exactly why you asked me to be here. No?
So why do you think should you run for the Senate if you want to espouse good politics but you can't do much? Then why the Senate? You could still do it in other capacities.
I think, when I talk to our people, this seems to be obvious. What I'm telling them is this. We need to be aware of how politics should be conducted in mature democracies. We need to do this. Otherwise, we'll never progress. So, am I going to win? Am I going to lose? Am I going to be a senator? It doesn't matter. What matters is the heart of our people. Their ability to understand that someday, if not today, we can have better politics and therefore better prospects of becoming a better country in the future. So there I am. Now, in our politics today, it seems that the people does not matter yet. But there are particular events in our history that they did matter.
Do you think it was correct for the Philippine government to cooperate with the ICC? Do you think that is a step in the right direction? When you talk about good politics, when you talk about, the common good, para po sa inyo, ano pong tingin niyo po dun sa...
Well, it was a hot debated issue during my time. It was during my time that this was really subjected to debate of the cabinet. And I'm one of those who favored the entry of the country to ICC. But what was in my mind then is this. Joining the ICC is not just because you have one criminal that your justice system cannot try, or cannot put to justice. It is also about highly developed justice system that could aid the world, aid other countries in the world to have a better justice system. That was my understanding during our time.
So agree po kayo?
Oh, of course, I agreed. Then,
ngayon.
There's a growing suspicion or maybe apprehension with some countries that I would not think of apprehending, having this apprehension about ICC. They think that ICC has become politicized, that is becoming partisan politically speaking. So this is the sentiment that is beginning to grow among nations that are supporting ICC in the past. Now, we have pulled out of ICC. If we intend to go back, I think we need another round of debates for that.
Well, I think it is a little bit too late to do that because the former president is already in their court. But
Well, you see, ICC is not about Duterte only. It's about the justice system prevailing in countries all over the world. They want to see that countries suspected of not having a working justice system like the Philippines should have one. And it so happened that the case of former President Duterte is a good case.
well, the eyes of the world will be on the ICC on this one, especially at such a tumultuous time. In the meantime, you are running for senator. Good luck
Thank you.
with your campaign. We have several days left to that. So abangan po namin kayo. But thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
to talk about defense and security with former Defense Secretary Norberto Gonzales. In the world of sports, Signal swept Crisscross in the Spiker Surf Open Conference Final, securing its 9th title. Signal leaned on the big game savvy of Louis Ramirez, Steven Rotter, Lloyd Josaphat, JP Bugawan, and later on, Jao Umandal. They outclassed a Crisscross squad that once again failed to deliver when the pressure peaked. Rotter, who was hailed as finals MVP, dropped 15 points off 11 spikes, 3 blocks, and an ace. And that's it for today's episode of Morning Matters. Enjoy your Monday and the rest of the week. My name is Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time.